Let's talk about how to do an argument timeout. Because sometimes things get a little hot. Either it's starting to get explosive and you can tell that damage is being done to the relationship, or maybe someone storms off. They just take off or shut down completely, and you can tell that they're no longer engaged in this conversation and things are going to get worse. So what we want to do is we want to step back from that so that we can continue to talk through conflict, but not do further damage to our relationship. So let's talk about that today. I'm Stacy Rocklein, and I help people create deep, meaningful relationships through healthy communication. And conflict is just part of relationships. So I like to think of arguments as actually an opportunity. They're a chance for us, if they're handled right, if they're handled well, they're a chance for us to actually build in trust and safety by how we deal with these moments in time where things are starting to get problematic and you reach a critical point where you're not going to be talking about the actual conflict anymore. You're going to have dipped over into now dealing with people's reactions. It's going to be the yelling, the storming off, the shutting down, and then you're not getting at the meat of what is going on here. So an argument timeout is a great way to do that. And I'm going to talk you through the steps. The very first step is that you have to be able to pause the conversation. So when you're not heated is when you talk about, maybe it's a timeout word that you use, or, you just say pause, whatever it is. But this has to be an agreed upon pause. And so what that means is either people in the relationship can say this word or say pause, and it has to stop immediately. The other person can't just keep going. This is agreed upon ahead of time that when we get to this point, we are going to push pause on it. What this does is it starts to create safety for people. Somebody who is concerned about being abandoned knows they won't, because this whole process is going to go into motion and they're going to have a chance to talk about whatever we need to talk about. The person who is afraid of being attacked knows that they can stop anything from happening that's going to threaten them. The person who becomes overwhelmed by the experience and needs some time to process knows they're going to get that time. Everybody, because you've agreed on this process, all the steps, I'll get to all of them, knows that this is going to keep them safe and keep the relationship safe. So the cool thing is every time you do this in an argument or a fight or a disagreement, you're building this trust with each other. So first you have this agreed upon pause where everybody just stops. Everybody has to respect this. The second thing is you're going to set a time to return to the conversation. This is very crucial. This is crucial because in relationships, some people are very worried about being abandoned, about not someone walking off and never coming back to it. So there has to be an agreement that you're going to return to the conversation. Maybe it's in half an hour. Maybe it's in an hour. Maybe it's, later that day. Whatever it is you're going to need, but you have to promise to come back. This isn't just making it go away. For those of us who like to avoid conflict, this doesn't just stop it and you never have to deal with it again. You do have to come back and deal with it. It's really important that you talk about it. So you're going to decide on a time, enough time for everybody to do what they need to do, and you will come back to it. And anybody can push pause on this. You can do it because you don't like what's happening to you from the other person. If they're storming off, they're yelling or whatever. But you can also do it when you're not feeling super great about what the things you're doing, about how you're behaving, and you want a chance to regroup and process and come back as a healthier, better version of yourself. So either person can push pause for either reason. So now you've agreed that you're going to come back later. Now the third step is that whatever you need to do to process. Is it going to be you need to go for a walk? You need to do some writing. You need to go vent with someone else so that you can talk through your feelings. Whatever it is that you need to do to recenter yourself, to bring yourself back to a space where you're open to hear again, you're open to listen, to bring yourself back to a space where you're able to communicate. Some people just don't even know what they want to say yet, and so they need a little bit of time to do that. One thing I do for myself, I'm a big journaler, is to ask myself this question as a journal prompt, and I just ask it over and over until I have everything out. The story I'm telling myself is, and I do that because when I get in a conflict situation, sometimes I'll start to spin a story. I'll spin a story about the facts. I'll spin a story about my partner, whoever I'm having this disagreement with. I'll spin a story about myself. And I really want to strip myself down to the facts so that I'm only emotionally responding to those. So I like to use that prompt of the story I'm telling myself is, and it just shows me on paper all of the garbage and bullshit that I'm telling myself that is complicating this situation that's usually can be simplified down to just a conflict we need to deal with. So whatever it takes for you to do what you need to do, whether that's process how you're feeling and what you're thinking, or it's just to calm yourself down or open yourself back up if you're shut down, whatever you need. And then the last thing you're going to do is you're going to come back together. You're going to return to this conversation, and this is absolutely essential. And then you're going to talk through this point of conflict. And every single time you do this, you prove to each other that you can keep each other safe, that you can keep the relationship safe, and that you're able to discuss difficult things without further harming the relationship. So it's a very useful tool if you know that you guys go do damage to each other during conflict, which is, it's normal and it happens, but there are ways around it. So let's just do a really quick review. You're going to push pause, an agreed upon word or whatever it is that just means we're going to stop here, and everybody agrees that they're going to respect that for whatever reason. 2, you decide when you're going to return to it. It's so important everyone knows we're coming back to it. 3, you're going to go process however you need to process or cool down or get yourself opened back up or whatever you're going to need to do to return to that conversation. And I always do it that way. 4, then you're going to come back together and you're going to talk about this, and you're going to have smoother conflict. You're going to have less damage, and you're going to be able to stay connected through these differences that we have in relationships. No big deal. If you are interested in more work on boundaries, because that's what this is a boundary setting tool. I'm teaching a free class called Put a Boundary on It, and you can go to the link and sign up for one of those times. And we'll be covering all things boundaries, how to figure out if you need one, what the exact steps are when you're setting one, what to say, and then how to deal with the aftermath, because actually that's probably the hardest part of boundary setting. So that's what we're going to cover in that class, and join me for that if you're interested in more boundary work. And good luck to you with your next conflict. Use this argument timeout to make it go more smoothly.